Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. This is the October 23rd, 2014 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Before we get started, I do have a few announcements tonight. Our building, recently, last Thursday, as a matter of fact, our building and grounds supervisor, Steve Kopchek, was involved in a very bad accident driving. He was actually at work driving down the road. Very serious accident. Steve's in the hospital. He may be released soon. He'll be fine. I'll just leave it at that. He's going to be fine. Broken rib, fractured eye socket, and a bad cut to the forehead. And the other gentleman also is in bad shape, but they're going to be okay. Thank goodness nobody was killed. And I got to tell you, I was there right afterwards, and it was a tough scene, but Steve will be okay. I did want to thank the people that responded. Some highway guys were out there right after it happened, and when I got there, they were cutting the battery cables on the cars because one car was smoking. They had the hoods up doing that. The first responders were there. The EMT was fantastic. Our police were there, the fire police, and I just want to thank everybody that came to the scene. And it happened like that. And I got to tell you, our people responded very quickly, and I just want to thank them for that. Also want to tell Steve Kopchek, we're with you, and I hope you have a full and complete recovery. And I think he will be coming out of the hospital soon, and we wish him the best. So I just wanted to make that announcement first. IBM sold the East Fishkill site to Global Foundries. I don't know if you call it a sale, if you actually pay somebody $1.5 billion to take it, but they also have a long-term contract to supply chips to IBM for 10 years. So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure what the impact of the Global Foundries purchase of the site will be. We certainly will welcome Global Foundries because IBM has really wanted to be out of that business for quite some time, and Global Foundries, that's their business. So hopefully we'll see some good things happen over at the IBM, now Global Foundries site. I did also want to congratulate the Wikipedia Fire Company, who some of the responders the other day were from the Wikipedia Fire Company. We just wanted to congratulate them on 60 years of service. 60 years they've been volunteering, fighting fires, showing up at emergency scenes and stuff. I just wanted to thank them for that. So, and with that, that's all of my announcements tonight. Acting Clerk, will you call the roll?
Sure. Councilperson Marinero.
Present.
Councilperson Franco.
Present.
Councilperson Cassidy.
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Present.
Supervisor Hickman.
Present. Thank you, Acting Clerk. We have the minutes of the September 25th, 2014, and the October 3rd, 2014 special budget presentation. Have there been any changes or amendments to those minutes?
No, there hasn't.
Okay. That there being none, do I have a motion to accept the September 25th, 2014 minutes of the East Fishkill Town Board and the October 3rd, 2014 special budget presentation minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Under receipt and file, we have none. So tonight we'll move to the first public hearing. The first public hearing is to reopen the adjourned public hearing on the consideration of the application of the Muse at Hopewell Junction for a workforce housing project. Do I have a motion to reopen the adjourned public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The public hearing is now open. Before we get started, I just want to say, since the last public hearing to this public hearing, we had received a lot of comments at the last public hearing. We've received several written comments since then. And I just want to let everybody to know, our job here is to listen to our constituents. You are our constituents. And when we look at this project, who has made an application for a special permit, we have a lot of things to consider. We certainly will take your comments. We took the comments from the last public hearing, and we have a lot to consider, and we will consider the project and the special permit application. So I want to thank you for coming tonight. And tonight there's going to be really no discussion. but we want to know your concerns. We want to know what your comments on this project are, for or against. Because I will say one thing about this project has engendered a lot of emotion, if I may say, on both sides. And I understand why on both sides. We're here to listen, and that's what we do. So I just want to make that point. One thing, I did get a letter from Abilities First, and I just want to say about Abilities First, I think Abilities First is a terrific organization. I've known people my whole life with disabilities of different sorts, nobody in my immediate family, but you know, I recognize there's such a need out there for that, and I know my board does also. So I don't want I got the letter from Abilities First. I just want to let Abilities First know that we think that is a terrific organization, and I don't think anybody on this board would have a problem with an Abilities First project in this town. Obviously, though, when you look at a project, you can't just look at it and say, well, it's Abilities First, it's great, because there's a lot of other considerations. But I just want to let Abilities First know that we think they're a terrific organization. They will be considered as a part of this whole special permit. And again, when we talk about these things, at some point, we will be making a decision on this special permit application. You know, and I would like to say to Abilities First, even to the applicant, because I do believe workforce housing is needed in this town, and there's a part of it that's a senior housing. If this is not the location, to look at other locations, I would like to just throw that out there. We have property across the street that we'll be looking to develop. So sometimes, you know, I hate to say it, but the last meeting here, you know, great project, wrong place. But certainly in the town, and especially with Abilities First, I don't want you to think we don't want you here, but everything has got to fit, and that's really what we're looking at. So with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Ken Carney. He's the project sponsor, I guess you would say, if he would just come up to the podium for a couple of minutes, and if he would just say a few words about what the project engenders.
Good evening, Supervisor Hickman, members of the board. My name is Ken Carney. I'm here tonight with Jeff Cantamo, the principal of Insight Engineering, and Jeff Fox from Abilities First, and my son and partner, Sean Carney. This application is calls for 68 units on a site on Route 82 and Joe's Mother's Road. We have 26 townhomes. 12 of the 26 townhomes are 3 bedrooms. 14 of the townhomes are 2 bedrooms. We have 2 multifamily buildings in the rear. The one building to my left with the bump out in the back is 24 one-bedroom units with a central loaded corridor and an elevator. We also have a bump out in the back where we've made an office for Abilities First, just for their case workers, case managers who will go in and provide supportive services to their clients. The other building is 14 two-bedrooms and 4 one-bedrooms. Both of those buildings are target the senior population as well. Out of the 68 units, 17 units are set aside for people with developmental disabilities. We envision some of the one-bedrooms in the building to the left, some of the one-bedrooms in the other building, some of the 2 bedrooms. Right now, we've set aside 14 one-bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms. The income limits for the townhomes are all up. 22 out of the 26 townhomes are all up at 60% of median income, which is approximately for the 2 bedrooms somewhere in the neighborhood of $44,000 up to in the low 50s for the 3 bedrooms. 4 of the townhomes are targeting 80% of median income, which is up in the 75% of median income. The other rents, the Abilities First, the 17 units will, the incomes of those tenants are approximately 30% of median income, and the other one-bedrooms are at 50% of median income at approximately $670 a month. The other building to the right The 2 bedrooms, again, are all at 60% of median income, and the other 4 1 bedrooms are at 670 as well. So we intend on hooking up to municipal water and sewer. This site was the site for a previous application. The previous application, I believe, was approximately 68 units as well. What we've done, we've reworked it. The previous application, 50% of the units were 3 bedrooms. We believe we've lowered the impact. In addition, by taking the 2 multifamily buildings off of Route 82 and incorporating the townhomes, we believe it makes a aesthetically more pleasing. And by lowering and bringing in the 17 units for the developmental disability population, again, other impacts have been lessened. We're working with Dutchess County loop bus system. They currently stop at Route 82 and Palin Road. We would propose to build a sidewalk from our location down to Route 82. In addition to that, we're going to work with them to make some modifications to the site plan so that Dutchess County Loop Bus can come on site, and they will provide transportation to all of our all of Abilities First clients, as well as any seniors. So that's just a brief overview. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I think it's time to open to the public. Is there anybody in the audience here that would like to speak for or against this project, if they could? Yes, sir. Mark, can you give this gentleman a microphone so he doesn't have to go up there? You can use the microphone maybe at the end of your table. I think that would be a lot better.
I'll go right up here. Good evening, Supervisor Hickman. Good evening, Town Board members. My name is William Quinn, Bill Quinn, and I'm a patron of Nick's Pizza, which is very good. Anyway, I'm here in support of this housing. Like I said, I've been a resident of East Fishkill for 16 years. I have a master's degree in social work, and I worked for many years with Cynthia Fury with Taconic Resources and some other places, and I'm 37 years old and still living with my parents. Actually, my dad recently passed away, but I'm still living with my mom because there is no housing, there is no affordable housing in Dutchess County and or in this area, and I believe that people with disabilities have just as much right as anyone else to have housing and stuff like that. And my understanding is this is not tax-exempt housing, so I'm not sure why people would oppose this. But again, it's really a needed housing for people with disabilities. And like I said, this is something that I'm passionately for, and my dad was a legislator in Putnam County for many years, and he would be also very much in line with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Yes, anybody else? Well, I'm sorry. Woman's making her way over from that side of the room. Sorry.
And could add an accessibility situation here.
Yeah. Could I ask you, is there a pad there?
Yes, sir.
Would you just jot down your name and street address, if you would? And then I have Bill's right here.
Well, I am from Poughkeepsie. Is that okay?
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Good evening, Supervisor Hickman, and Town Board, and also citizens here. My name is Cynthia Fury. I'm Director at Taconic Resources. Bill introduced me, so I thought I should go next. Taconic Resources for Independence is the voice of people with disabilities and disability rights movement in Dutchess County. Our mission is to promote independence and integration in society for people with disability. Given our role in this community, we want to express strong support for the Muse at Hopewell. Will help bring New York State closer to the full implementation of the 1991 Supreme Court Olmstead ruling, which identified unnecessary segregation of people with disabilities as a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a great integrative program here, as someone like Bill, who can live independently in the community. So we're familiar with Abilities First as a reputable provider of services for people with developmental disabilities for over 50 years, Dutchess County, and we endorse their involvement in the Muse at Hopewell. We know that they will provide excellent, person-centered, community-based services and supports for people with developmental disabilities living at the Muse at Hopewell. So overall, we view this as an excellent project with goals that mirror ours, and we urge you to approve this. It's right here in your community, and think what opportunities you're providing to our citizens who have been segregated and not had the opportunity to participate in that, and all the opportunities for all of you to connect with people that you normally haven't connected with every day. So I thank you for your consideration.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Tingley. I'm an attorney from Albany. I've been retained by Jill Dutcher and Irma Farfaro, who are concerned citizens of Hopewell Junction. The first thing I'd like to do is applaud the board for keeping the public hearing open and reopening it this evening, and also for accepting written comment. I do have written comment. I have copies for each of the board members. I know you'll see that it's thick, but I do believe it includes only parts of the record that I wanted to pull out for you separately. So if I may, I'll give the official copy to the acting clerk.
If you would. Sure. And everything we've been getting on this project nothing has been thin.
The good news is a lot of this is repetition.
So thank goodness we probably read it before.
So I'll just give that to you. There's a few extra copies there for the town attorney and for the board members. And there should also be an applicant copy there as well. I'm not going to read it because it would take too long, but I just do want to highlight a couple of important points. This use it's not a problem with the project, it's a problem with the location. Okay, this is a special permit use. It means it's not permitted, it's permissible upon satisfaction of the special permit criteria. And for this board to decide that it is an appropriate use at that location, the board has to base its decision on evidence that is in the public record on each of those criteria. The burden rests on the applicant to make sure that the record contains that evidence. The criteria in the zoning code that I think are most relevant on this one are the following: whether the location of the proposed use and its street access is in harmony with orderly development, whether the location will hinder appropriate development and use of adjacent land, whether the use will cause traffic congestion or create a traffic hazard, whether the use is such that maximum safety is achieved at the entrance and exit points, whether it's located appropriately for fire, police, and other emergency access. And in terms of workforce housing in particular, the purpose of the special permit section on that, as stated in your code, is that the intent is to find a proper location without detriment to the general health, safety, and welfare of the residents of East Fishkill. And the use must provide for the safety, health, and general welfare of the occupants of the site. What's in this record and what's attached to my comment letter are sections of the traffic impact study, which I understand was done in 2011, was updated in 2012, and I believe there's a letter reaffirming the conclusions in that study. The issue with that traffic study is that it's not based on current counts. It is based on a projection that was done in 2011 of a total 3% growth. So it's not based on actual traffic counts. It doesn't provide an evidentiary basis where one is available for this board to conclude that there won't be a traffic impact or that this use is appropriately located at that site. The second part of the written comment letter exhibit that I pulled out of the record was an accident data report. In summary, the accident data report establishes a shockingly high frequency of accidents along this particular stretch of Route 82. In some cases, the incidence of accidents at that stretch of Route 82 is 17 times the statewide average for roads of that and intersections of that type. Now, the population at the site is going to be some individuals with developmental disabilities, but also some seniors. And when you have a facility that has senior housing, it necessarily has more of a demand on emergency services. And the concern that I pulled from the traffic report was that not only during times of congestion, during the peak PM traffic hour, when according to the traffic study there are 1,200 cars that pass by that site in 1 hour, but also during that hour, will emergency access be available? That's an issue that I think needs to be addressed, and it's an appropriate consideration for this board. The other issue is that with the high frequency of accidents, in the event that there is an accident and there is an emergency situation in the senior population at this housing facility, will the emergency access be available to get to that facility? Will they be able to get there? This is not a project problem. It is a New York State Route 82 problem. It is a state highway, but that does not obviate this board's obligation to make sure that this project is appropriately located at that site. Traffic is an important issue on this project, and approving the project without evidence in the record not only poses the obvious potential harm of disputes arising upon the approval, but more importantly, public health and safety problems, potentially. Another criteria that's in and I'll wrap this up because I do want to sit down and let the public speak, but another criteria that's in the zoning code is whether or not the project will impact real property values. And to my knowledge, and I haven't had full access to the record, but to my knowledge so far, there is no real property value impact study in the record. I do land use a lot, mostly upstate in the 3rd Department, but whenever there's a special use permit regulation, there usually is that same criteria. And whenever that's there and I'm representing a developer, I make sure that I have a real property value impact study in the record because that's the only way that it can meet its burden of establishing that there's no negative impact from the project. So I think that it's important to take these considerations into account, and if the board is going to act tonight, unfortunately I think there's not enough evidence in the record to support an approval. If there needs to be sufficient evidence in the record to support an approval, I think the action has to be deferred until the applicant submits additional materials.
I think you can leave that decision up to us.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
understand
your
that.
input, though.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I got two guys with their hands up, so.
Just give me a moment to get set up.
Sure. Looks like you'll be staying a while.
Okay. Keep this from sliding down here. That'll be all right. Good evening, members of the town board, town supervisor, and fellow citizens. My name is Brian Karst, and I represent, in part, the concerned citizens of East Fishkill. We are a prominent fledgling young group, but we're growing by the number every day. And we have some major concerns about this proposal and this project, and I'd like to share a few of those with you today. My first issue is with respect to the zoning ordinance, Article 194-91.1, workforce housing. I had a number of questions with respect to this, the first of which is Mr. Carney's development, his proposal, based on this law? Can you answer that?
Excuse me?
Is Mr. Carney's development, this proposal before you, based on that law that's in the
Well, I can't say
zoning law?
what he based his proposal upon. He came before us for a special permit for a development that he's proposing, which he believes fits within the confines of that law.
Okay, so he believes that it...
I would assume
Do you
that's why we're
believe
here.
that it fits within the confines of that law?
I believe it does for the most part. There's been some, and to be honest with you, Mr. Karsh, we're not here to debate. We're here to take your input. But the one issue that had been brought up previously at the last public hearing, which we've jotted down many, many notes, was appears to be the conflict between our workforce housing is supposed to be for town of East Fishkill residents, but this one, due to the way it's funded, it does not allow for that sort of discipline. So that was the one thing that I was looking at. That was brought up previously. Otherwise, I mean, the other gentleman just before you brought up some points. I believe it does fit within, but we do have some issues to look at.
Okay, I obviously do not believe it fits within, and based on Mr. Carney's funding, the supremacy clause of the Constitution would take precedence, and I would ask the town attorney if that's correct.
Well, I think we just said that was one of the issues that was brought up.
Okay. This particular ordinance was crafted specifically for this project or the former project, correct, the homesteads?
Well, this had come up. We had looked at this years ago. We seemed to see an issue in the town, especially during the building boom, where a lot of our younger people and a lot of our older people actually couldn't afford to stay here. They either, you couldn't buy a new house because the kids coming out of college. So the whole thought on this actually predated Mr. Reagan's original application. We started looking at this with our planner at the time. Actually, we looked at this back in 2006. I think who was our Fish and Jack Mart was our planners at that time. We were looking at way back then, because it seemed to be an issue with affordability for young people and people working. Like I said, our fire people, our police, and that's really where it started. Mr. Reagan came in a few years ago, and he actually does this sort of a project. We actually brought it more to our attention of how other people do it. But we've been looking at this for some time.
Okay, but the law was crafted in the time frame that these two proposals were made, both of those proposals on Joe's
Well, we had
Mother's
actually
Road.
looked at, earlier, I believe we had looked at it with the other planning firm, but we never actually had anything so formalized. It was just
But it
about
was
concept.
ratified in that time frame.
yes.
Is that correct? Okay. I'm just curious as to, I mean, I know we have a town attorney, and I know we pay fees for legal services. When this issue was looked at, was there any consideration given to the fact that there is a supremacy clause, and this type of package and this type of funding used for this type of development, the potential was there for somebody to come in and try to do a project like this? So I just wonder how, how this was vetted as far as legally.
Okay. Well, that's a very valid point. This was a point that was brought up at the last public hearing that's been noted.
Because I think that the flaws alone in the ordinance should halt this whole process. It shouldn't go forward. Because if something is not valid on its face, then everything that follows are fruits of the poisonous tree, and they're not valid as well. So I don't believe that, based on that alone, that this application has merit.
Okay.
A lot has been said about workforce families. I am not against workforce families, and let me just set the record straight. I think the organization for the disabled persons is outstanding. I have known and lived with people who are disabled my entire life as well, and I really am, I am in awe of them, that they persevere, against some pretty difficult odds. So I am not up here saying I'm against them. I'm not. The issue is that one of the issues is this particular development has a very small percentage of developmentally disabled persons, in regard to the rest of the project, when weighed against the rest of the project as workforce housing. And there was a great deal of confusion, I believe, in the public. I know I was confused regarding what workforce housing actually was. And I looked at Mr. Carney's model and his funding model, and I also looked at the income models that were in his proposal, and I looked on the internet, and they actually, and this is just to, again, I am not against people, who need low-income housing at all, but it actually fit the definition of low-income housing. And I took that right off the internet, so I wanted to make that point. And I think from the very beginning, you talked about police and firemen. I think this was misrepresented, because by Mr. Carney's own admission, there was only one correction officer in all of his facilities. There was no police. There was no firemen. So I think it was grossly misrepresented to the public from the beginning, and I would urge the board to take that into consideration. We talked about one of the things that was discussed in connection with the project was lawsuits. And I spoke to a number of the council persons as well as you, Mr. Hickman. And one of the overriding concerns was the fear of lawsuits. I'd like to know, and I filed a notice of claim to get the information, but I haven't received anything back on it. Is there, in fact, a lawsuit that's been filed with regard to this proposal?
There's a notice of claim that was filed by the property owner.
Okay. Could you tell the audience what a notice of claim is?
Well, as you probably are well aware, under the general municipal law of New York State, prior to bringing a lawsuit against the municipality, a person must first file a notice of claim, which is a notice that they intend to file a lawsuit. That was filed. They have 1 year and 90 days from the filing of the same to commence that lawsuit. No lawsuit has yet been commenced.
Okay, so it's a notice, it's not a lawsuit?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell me who filed that notice of claim?
The owner of the property,
Mr. Segretti.
Anthony Segretti.
Okay. Is this the first time that Mr. Segretti filed a lawsuit against the town or a notice of claim?
No, I don't have any knowledge of any others.
Mr.
But I don't know if
Hickman?
there was.
No
Would
idea.
you-
It's not unusual. Everybody says, let's sue
Okay.
the town, so it's not an unusual circumstance.
Well, let me ask another question. How many lawsuits or notices of claim do you get in a year's time?
I don't know. That's a record we would have to get from the town clerk.
Okay.
Because
But I
many
would,
of them, it comes in from accidents in the wintertime to, a tree case in
runs the
Shenandoah
gamut.
Road where a person was
Sure.
severely injured. I mean, there's all kinds, and they vary from year to year.
but the town processes these and litigates these and minimizes the exposure to both the town and the public, correct, on a regular basis?
Well, the insurance carrier does, or we do, depending upon how
Okay.
it comes in.
I bring this up because one of the explanations, as I said, for the necessity of this project has been the fear of lawsuits. And I feel that administration of the town and its assets should not be guided by the fear of lawsuits. It would be like a police officer arresting somebody because they thought they were going to commit a crime. It's just not a valid foundation to make a decision on. And I think, this is something that, doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold water with the citizens. And, I don't believe it should with you with regard to this decision-making process. The gentleman back there touched base on the traffic impact study. I read the traffic impact study. It was done by a private company, paid for presumably by Mr. Carney and/or the owner of the property. It was not prepared by DOT. I'd just like to make that clear. And again, I'll just reiterate that the data
We should
was...
be clear, DOT never does a traffic study
Yes,
on
that's
any
correct.
project.
I
The
just wanted to be
process
clear
is,
that-
but just to be clear,
Sure.
the process is when anyone is appearing before a board of any town, they bring in a consultant. The town has a consultant that reviews it. So let's not mislead people that it was just relied upon whatever was submitted by the applicant.
Sir.
There was a review, there was a discussion with the planning board about it.
Okay. I wasn't trying to mislead anybody.
No, I'm just,
Okay. All right, so, but it was based on data that was collected in 2011. It's old data. The study that the applicant is using, it's based on data that's over 3 years old, as was already stated. And it includes projections up to 2014, but the standard generally is they want projections at least 2 years into the future, and we're already almost at 2015. These are merely extrapolations of the old data in an effort to avoid doing an up-to-date traffic safety study. You know, and as I stated, it's already 2015, and this study does not include current or future projections because it's 3 years old. The 2014 projections were based on 2011 data and do not accurately represent what happens in 2015 and beyond, which, as I said, is the standard for most traffic safety studies. I believe they essentially do not want to finance an updated traffic safety study and wish to pass off old data in an effort to minimize the real traffic impact of this project. They did not even bother to change the cover page of the report, which still depicts it as the homesteads at Hopewell. For those of you who don't know, that was the name of the original 2 failed attempts at this project in 2011 and 2013. It is also important to note that the original traffic safety study underemphasizes that Hopewell Glen, which is Toll Brothers Development, which currently has 65 units constructed, will be building an additional 225 homes when the complete build-out is done, with the potential for another 500 automobiles spilling out onto Route 82 on a daily basis. And as I looked at the traffic safety study, I would concur with that gentleman that not enough emphasis was given to that. It's outdated, it's insufficient, and again, I think it's irrelevant for decision support to render this decision. There was one other issue that with respect to the traffic safety report. This particular project, and I don't know how it got a negative declaration from the planning board and now is even here to be considered, because it does not have the support or approval of the New York State Department of Transportation. I spoke to DOT Senior Transportation Analyst Akhtar Sharif and Permit Field Engineer Rock Denegro, who both stated that this project does not have a green light from DOT and has not been issued a highway work permit required by law to make the changes in access, egress, and permit digging and/or construction on a state highway. In addition, there has been no correspondence between New York State DOT and the town of East Fishkill since August of 2013, when Mr. Sharif sent a letter to Planning Board Clerk Pam Bayer expressing reservations over the project with regard to traffic congestion, future DOT improvements planned for the vicinity, and the requirement to submit an updated traffic safety study. To date, none of these conditions have been satisfied, and I was able to obtain a copy of that letter, which I will share with you each, if I may approach you.
Thank you.
As I said, I spoke to both of these gentlemen, and they both had extreme reservations about this project, namely the congestion in the area, and they didn't feel that Hopewell Glen was given due consideration or the level of consideration that it should have been. And they said that there has been no conversation between DOT and the town since last year, well over a year ago. So I'd ask you to look at that and consider that as part of your decision. I want to talk a little bit about transparency in government. Over the past several weeks, I've made approximately 7 FOIL requests pursuant to the Freedom of Information law pertaining to this project and have received 4 replies to date. I just would like to read to the residents the particular FOILs that I did not receive replies to, one of which was the environmental impact study that was submitted as part of the application for this project. I believe that that particular report is also outdated. I did not receive, but you clarified for me with respect to the notices of claim. So I appreciate that, and I thank you. And lastly, I had asked for any emails, text messages, or written correspondence between Supervisor Hickman and Town Board members Ken Carney and Anthony Segretti pertaining to the proposed development of the Route 82 project. I think that's essential that the public receives this information so that they can fully understand the decision-making process that took place in regard to this process. Now, I know that the town is currently processing this.
If I just may, I don't
Sure.
email, I don't text, and if you want to check my computer, I have no emails from Mr. Carney, Mr. Segretti, or anybody else, so you're more than welcome.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
so you know,
I
they-
appreciate that.
Yeah, just want to let you know.
Thank you.
I don't text, don't email. Well, I email, but not.
Email.
Yeah. And I carry my cell phone once in a while.
With regard,
Somebody should be doing that.
Sounds suspicious.
with regard to the, I've heard a lot of talk about a pilot agreement, payment in lieu of taxes. Okay, and that's taxes to be paid, that's monies to be paid instead of, taxes or the full assessed value of a property. Pursuant to a FOIL request that I did get, it was disclosed that the town has not negotiated or entered into a pilot agreement with Mr. Carney in regard to this project. Is that what the town is considering, to enter into a pilot project? Pilot
And
agreement?
just
rather?
again, just so you ordered, this is not supposed to be a discussion. I don't mind
To answer-
discussing this with
Well,
you.
if you want, I mean,
But absolutely, no, we look.
There is no negotiation of a pilot. The real property tax law provides that these are assessed the same way as the Hopewell Garden Apartments.
Okay.
But this was brought up again at the last meeting, and I've always been a big proponent of pilots because I think it gives everybody stability, and continuity. You don't have to worry about the market up and down. So, and for the other gentleman, I do email. I just never emailed Mr. Carney, but I do email. I just want to let you know I do that. So.
If at some point, you said you're in favor of pilot agreements, if at some point a pilot agreement is going to be negotiated, how can it be negotiated after the town grants this special application?
Because the real property tax law authorizes municipalities to enter into pilots with certain types of projects. This is one, that's an option, would require a public hearing and full disclosure to the public before any vote could be taken. So that option is by the state legislature authorizing.
With regard to the pilot agreement?
Yes, if you did a pilot in lieu of a regular assessment. Yes.
Okay. Because it doesn't make sense to me, you wouldn't run a business that way if you didn't know what kind of revenue was coming in, versus your
Well, I
expenditure.
think most people on a commercial property know how you get an appraiser who tells you what's probably going to be valued at, and then you figure where the rent roll is, et cetera, and come up with what the assessment is, and just like all our homes, then the taxes are calculated.
But I mean, do we know that value, and do we have some kind of ballpark figure for what that value will be?
Excuse me, Tom, we would do comparisons of other, places like that.
Can you tell me what that is?
Well, I'm sorry, but on
I know.
certiorari's, but the value of any commercial property that's rented is based on the rent roll, expenses, et cetera. There's a process. So what happens is that when any property is approved and they file for a building permit, then the assessor gets involved and they start the calculation of the value. And they come up with an assessment. And then if the property owner disputes the assessment, there's a process in court for it. So I understand that there was a preliminary idea this would generate around $70,000 or $80,000 of taxes a year.
Would that represent the fully assessed value of the property?
Yes, as done by the real property tax law of the state of New York.
Okay. And that's what the intention of the town is?
We want to make sure they pay their fair share, obviously, and yes.
Because,
the pilot
as you
is
well know, and I've
is a
researched
good
this, many
tool.
pilot agreements are at 50% of the full assessed value, and even less, depending upon, what kind of housing it is. So that,
No, we
that's
would make sure
concerning.
that we would want it to be comparable to a regular tax property.
Okay. Very good. I just wanted to share with you, I looked at similar affordable housing mixed-use developments. I know that Councilman D'Alessandro and Councilman Cassidy, you had looked at several properties, and I couldn't recall what they were. Can you tell me?
We went to the Muse in...
The Muse in Somers.
Somers.
And was that all?
Yes.
Okay. Just a little bit on that. I visited the Muse, and I also visited Pendle Commons in Poughkeepsie. The Muse is really not a fair representation of this proposed project. And the reason is it's predominantly senior citizen. It's under construction, recently built, so there's no data on it. So there's nothing to base any findings on it. Similarly, the Pendle Commons, I went up and looked at that, and I asked around, and that also is a senior citizen complex predominantly. So it really wouldn't be applicable here either to make comparison. So what I did is I found a complex in Fishkill, Rocky Glen. It's not by Mr. Carney, but it's by the last developer who made proposals here. I found out some very interesting things. I looked at, it was Reagan Development, and it has approximately the same usage as Mr. Carney's proposal. And I obtained information from the Town of Fishkill Police Department, and I have to say I was not surprised that over the course of 5 years there were 500 calls for police service, approximately 100 calls per year. This is a staggering amount of police calls, and I will just share a few with you.
Well, no, we have that data, actually.
You do have that data?
Well, we looked at it when the Reagan project was before us. Before we looked at his other projects, and we have that data. And
Okay.
We told him we certainly had problems with his management.
Okay, for the public's edification, let me just clarify. There's a 24/7 manager on site at the property at all times. It's a similar size. I believe it's 82 houses. But just to paraphrase a couple, fights in progress, suicide attempts, domestic disturbances, of course, medical emergencies, numerous for drug sales, numerous for drug possession, numerous for disorderly conduct, counterfeiting, criminal mischief. And I won't go on because the list is quite voluminous, but they have a lot of problems over there. And as I said, it's a similar configuration of housing. So that also should be a major consideration. I'm going to echo what you said, Supervisor Hickman, earlier in the evening. I think an alternative development site is the way that we should go, okay? And I'm going to echo also what you said about this parcel over here. I've driven into the water treatment plant, and I've looked around and did a little investigation, and I think this is perfect for this project. This is a parcel of land that presumably is not on the tax rolls right now.
No, it's town owned.
Right. So what I'm saying is we're not getting anything for it. How many acres are there over there?
Well, total is 147, but it goes way over to Palin Road.
So I think one of the major concerns was, 68 units of housing on 7 buildable acres. So it's certainly
Well, buildable, although I will say buildable
some
the
is
key
wetland,
word,
I'm
'cause
assuming.
There's a lot of wetlands.
Okay. But it would be much larger. Is that fair to say?
It's
Okay.
probable.
Okay.
Have to take a look.
And the water and sewer is already there, correct?
We have water and sewer there, yeah.
And you wouldn't have to traverse a roadway?
Well,
or
we don't
dig-
have water yet. We're still working on the water. We have 2 wells we have applications in with DEC for.
Okay.
We don't have water over there yet.
So it
but
wouldn't
we're
be a
waiting
situation where you'd have to,
approval.
dig the road up and, cause a major disruption in that area?
Right.
Just from my perspective. It's not in close proximity like the other project to a major intersection, and so the traffic congestion is not there. It's right across the street from the park and the library. And as far as pedestrian safety, I think you could very easily put a crosswalk in there, and then perhaps a sidewalk from the library down to where the rec opens up. And I think that would ensure pedestrian safety. I looked over on that side of the road, on the library side. There's plenty of room. You wouldn't even have to move the telephone poles. So I think, that makes a lot of sense. In contradiction to the Joe's Mother's Road project. It's a short walk to town, and as I looked at the zoning law, it meets all of the criteria. It's in close enough proximity to a state highway. There's accessibility to the hamlet, and it meets almost all of the criteria that I saw. I think for...
We still have the supremacy, though, according to you.
Say again?
The supremacy issue there.
That's
We
correct.
talked about
That's
the
something that's
conflict which
consideration.
we'd have to look at.
Right, I understand. Also, with respect to, buses stopping there's quite a bit of sight distance on either side. So that would be, that would be beneficial. And again, it could be sold, generating additional revenue, put back on the tax rolls, realizing tax revenue on a yearly basis. It's a win-win for the town. My feeling is if, we should take time, look at this, and consider all the factors before making a decision. That, to me, is almost shovel-ready across the street. I would just like to, I'd like to ask, I'm a former Rotarian, but once a Rotarian, always a Rotarian. And I would like to ask if any of the board members are Rotarians.
What is it?
Rotaries? Oh, it's an organization
I got thrown out because I never attended. I couldn't attend it.
It's an organization that, works in the community to foster goodwill, partnerships amongst community members, and, it's nationwide, actually, and they do a lot of good work. They have a project for eradicating polio. They have a project for creating play pumps that actually generate water for remote villages in Africa and other third world nations. It's a very, very worthy organization, and a lot of work is done locally as well, food drives and a lot of charitable things. So it's, I was proud to be a member. I don't have the time right now to do it, but I really did enjoy it. And the reason I bring this up is in Rotary, we have what's called a four-way test. And the four-way test is how all Rotarians should carry themselves, how all Rotarians, should live their lives and try to promote this in the community. And the four questions that are asked is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I think these are words to live by. And I think if you all ask yourselves those things, you don't have to be a Rotarian, I think you'll find that it doesn't pass the four-way test. Government and their pursuits, according to Abraham Lincoln, are supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. This project is not of the people, as their concerns are disregarded in favor of parochial pursuits. It is not by the people, as it benefits only two persons, and is certainly not for the people of East Fishkill, as they will not be given preference and perhaps not access to this development. So what I would say to you is that the citizens of this community are very concerned about this particular project. They don't feel it's the right location. I think that's, from what I've heard, from most of the citizens I spoke to, both in a petition drive and with this particular group, that is one of their main concerns. Obviously, there's ancillary concerns, which I've voiced to you today. But just so that you would know what the people were thinking, we actually did get out and do a petition drive, and I have 675 petitions that we were able to do in a very short period of time. And I can tell you, in talking to the residents, and it was a great experience because this is a great community, and it was nice to see people I haven't seen for a long time, and also just to get input from strangers. But I would say 99.9% of them agree with us, and they agree with what we're saying. And that represents 675, almost 700 taxpayers that we reached out to in a very short period of time. And this is an ongoing petition, so I did want you to know about it. And we look forward to working with the board to meet a resolution in this case. We just think it's the wrong location, and I've already kind of laid out the reasons or my reasons for you, and you'll hear from more citizens and more members of our group. But I implore you and urge you to really think carefully about this and consider all factors before you make a decision, because I think this is going to be something that impacts this community, and I think it should really weigh heavily on you that this project is going to, it's going to shape the future of this community. So I would ask you to just really carefully consider it. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And just, I would like to point out that, believe me, the town board does not take this lightly. We take this very seriously. That's why we take all your comments into consideration, and we appreciate it. So we certainly listen. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Supervisor Hickman and town council members. I'd like to first of all commend you for your service. Sometimes not appreciated, but I want to let you know that we do appreciate it. And I'll just make some comments here. As a retired homeowner and taxpayer in East Fishkill, I would like to state that I am not against the housing project at Joe's Mother's Road, but I do question the location as being the best choice for the people of Hopewell Junction and any future residents of that project. I feel that it would have a negative impact and quality of life issue for all East Fishkill residents. Should we all be responsible for the infrastructure cost involved through our taxes for the water and sewer lines to the sewer plant and water plant, possible pump station to pump the sewage uphill, not to mention the traffic tie-ups and tearing up of Route 82. These road tie-ups will affect town merchants directly by a loss of business due to people's unwillingness to traverse the roads under construction. Could we afford to lose our businesses? A much better choice for the project location would be on the property directly across from Town Hall. The sewer line would be shorter to the plant with no pump station needed. Some or all of the piping could be run on the property with limited road work needed. It is in walking distance to town center, and sidewalk construction would be much cheaper. The rec center is across the street, a win-win for all. Also, it would provide a much quicker response time for the firemen who live there, being just across the street from the fire station. They could run down the hill with no need to drive. The police who live there would be closer to the police station. It would be quicker for them to get to the police station since traffic is less on Route 376. The same would be true of the teachers since two schools are in close proximity. Best of all, they could save money by walking to work on the new sidewalks. The Joe's Mother Road location would further strain the aquifer in that area of East Fishkill. I think you should really consider that. And you got the land over there, just trade it for a park. Make that a park. You got that historic home right next to it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Patty Jones. I'm a homeowner in East Fishkill, and I've lived in this community for 28 years. I've listened carefully at the past two board meetings, and I'm hopeful that tonight this board will issue the special permit for the Muse at Hopewell. I've spoken to many neighbors and community members who were not aware of this proposal. I will tell you that there are many residents in this community who want to be part of a community that will end up on the right side of history. Segregating people with developmental disabilities from the general population is a clear violation of the American with Disabilities Act. This residential model at the Muse will offer people with disabilities the opportunity to live with people who do not have disabilities. Federal, state, and municipal law has shown that ultimately every community will be expected to move forward and embrace residential housing for people with disabilities. This project will be partnered by two outstanding organizations, Abilities First and the Kearney Development Group. As stated at the previous town board meeting, members of this board have conducted a thorough investigation into the Kearney Development Group and unanimously expressed praise of this group. Abilities First is a long-standing agency that has enriched the lives of people with disabilities. I can speak firsthand that this agency is made up of professional, caring, and conscientious people. People who make it their goal to better the lives of individuals so that they may have the opportunity to embrace their full capacity in life. The town board needs to approve this project. The town board needs to allow these two outstanding organizations, along with our East Fishkill community, the opportunity to offer disabled individuals one of the most cherished American values, the right to live in the community, and let's make it our community.
Good evening to the board, the Kearney crew. So I took the last few days off this week to go from one end of town to the other. You know, we had people standing out in front of the A&P. We had ringing doorbells, and I wanted to actually talk to the people that own businesses here, you know. I've been here since '92. Wheelrow Construction built my house up on Palin Road, Bull Road over there, and I love this community. I spent the first 15 years of my life commuting to Manhattan from this town because it was worth it at the end of the night to be here, right? I moved up here from the island. So just to keep it brief, I was a little overwhelmed at how much the people in this town were not aware of what was going on down there, right? So I had to really get my facts straight because it turned into an education. I'm not a teacher, believe me, in any way, shape, or form, man, but I had to educate the community of almost 300 people who are business owners, managers, and employees. That's strictly who I spoke to. I didn't speak to the people buying stuff in the stores. I wanted to speak to them, so I would approach the manager, ask him if I could go through the people. Actually, I'm going to tell you, 9 out of 10 times, the manager would pull their people aside to hear me speak one shot, 10, 15 minutes on what's going on. And if you read through probably close to half of the petitions that we got, they're all from the business owners in this town. They're not against what first of all, they don't know what the hell this thing is. They don't get it. You know, the 3 different types of housing. But they're not against that. They're just against where you're putting it, right? That was an overwhelming concern. So I think that I can come up here and say that I represent, you know, 250 people of the owners, because I had a great opportunity to meet these folks and speak with them and take the time to even read those petitions, because every signature that was on it, these people wanted to let you know how they felt about it, right?
Do we get a copy of them?
I don't have them in my possession, but I'm sure.
When you get a chance, drop them by the clerk's office. Yeah, if you would.
So that's it, right?
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
very much.
I don't know how you guys have performed over the years. I've been here for 25 years. I just basically work, go to sleep, and I start all over again. That's what I do. And so I can't rate your performance, but I'll rate it on this one. We'll see how this goes down,
Wow,
right?
everything on one. All on one. You know, that's how it is. You can do a good job for 25 years at one time.
But I'm the only one that matters right now, right?
Good evening, Supervisor Hickman and members of the board. My name is Ann Quinn. I've lived in East Fishkill in Hopewell Junction for the past 16 years. When I heard Mr. Carney give the overview of the proposal, I picked up on one aspect that I was not aware of, and that was the transportation. I have been sitting here so excited ever since. The transportation in this area for people who do not drive is just impossible. When you say workforce, I thought, how appropriate. There are so many people who want to work but cannot because they cannot drive because of their disability, and that could be someone who is permanently disabled or a senior citizen who would like to continue working but perhaps no longer has the capacity to drive, or people who are low income and cannot perhaps afford to buy a car and the insurance, but would like to work and have to rely on public transportation. Now, if you have to rely on public transportation, that's difficult. If you are disabled and have to rely on the transportation available to people who are disabled, it is so limited that it makes it impossible for you to really hold a job. No employer is going to say, oh, well, sure, when is that transportation available to you? Tuesday and Thursday from 10 until 2, or tie your schedule into what the transportation available to you is, that just doesn't happen. So what happens is people who have the education, have the talent and the skills to contribute to society, to be working members of society and pay tax, can't. Instead, they have to stay home with low self-esteem, even though they have all that they need to contribute to society. We talk about impact on taxes, on the financial impact here. These people want to work. My own experience, why I'm so excited, is that the only way that my son, who is very well educated and likes to be involved, matter of fact, he would love to be in politics like his father, and I keep saying, no, you don't want to do that, you don't want to do that. But I am his transportation. And I lie in bed at night, awake, dreading what is going to happen to him when I die. There is no transportation for him. So, and I would like, and related to that, I'm not really getting what two of the previous speakers addressed and reacted to, and they had studies in front of them, which I do not, in terms of the impact on the traffic. I don't think that we should be talking about a development that is going to have 550 cars added to our traffic congestion with a development like this. We're talking about senior citizens. We're talking about people who are disabled. These are people who need public transportation. We're not adding cars for each of these people. Well, the reason I got so excited when I heard that there was going to be a bus that actually went into that, so that people would be able to get on that bus and work or do whatever it is they need to do. As far as walking to town, I don't know too many places in this area where somebody can walk to town, so I don't see what relevance that has. But the idea that this is going to have the same impact on the traffic congestion as someplace else with that many possibilities for residences or number of residences, I really don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something. But you have a bus that's going to come, one bus, not 500 cars.
To be honest with you, traffic is always a concern when we see a project like this come in. And we do have traffic studies that we have to look at. We have looked at, and some points were brought up that we have to consider also. So,
as I said, I'm probably not as knowledgeable in that area.
I will agree with you, living out here in East Fishkill, if you don't have a license, I know it is very, very difficult, and I wish that
and in some cases impossible.
There was more of a public transportation out here, but it's difficult.
And I understand too that that's one of the things that you realize you're going to give up when you move from an urban area to a place like this. But if you're disabled, there isn't any way that you can get to work without maybe paying for a taxi or something, which how many people can afford to pay for a taxi every day? And as a senior citizen myself, I hope that I will be somewhat forgiven for saying sometimes senior citizens are tempted to drive when they really shouldn't because of the lack of transportation. And maybe we would have fewer accidents if some of those senior citizens could get on a bus. Not, as I said, being a senior citizen, I hope you'll forgive me for saying that. Okay. But and lastly, I want to believe that those who have come to this podium and said, we are in favor of integrating people with disabilities into our society are sincere. I want to believe that. Perhaps the other site that they mentioned is a more amenable, better site for this. I don't know that, but I would hate to think that if it were then put to the other site, that we would then see all of the same arguments or looking for reasons why it cannot happen. Right. There would be different faces sitting here because it would no longer be in the backyard of these people. It would then be in the backyard of different people. So then we would have those spaces here instead, okay? And I don't want to believe that that is the case, but also I am not naive. And as I said, my husband was in politics for many years, and I didn't like to go to town board meetings, but I have seen that over and over again, you know? And I hope that that is not the case when I hear people come here and say they really do want people with disabilities to be integrated.
Well, I can tell you for myself and my board, we appreciate abilities first, and we understand the needs of people, and believe me, we're here for you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Blazak. Good evening. And I simply do not understand why this project, which is for 68 units of workforce housing, is being proposed for the Joe's Mother's Road area. There are only 9 acres, and it includes a wetland. It's entirely too dense for this population. Why here on 9 acres instead of selling enough town property from the 100+ acres that the town purchased across from Town Hall? Why put miles of water pipes under bridges and under railroad tracks instead of nearer the proposed well on 100+ acres that the town owns? Why put miles of sewer pipes through the village, disrupting the local businesses, again under a bridge and a railroad track? Why put a development of this size near Toll Brothers, which already is providing all of that traffic? It's too close to the crossroads of 82 and Palin Road. The town property has close access to water, close access to sewer, close access to Town Hall, the library, and the fire department. It's closer to the police department. It's closer to the town recreation center and stores. I simply do not understand why this development is being proposed for such an inappropriate site. It doesn't make any sense. Please explain this. The town has the ability to deny this permit and offer alternatives without being exclusionary. There's simply no reason it can't. So, I really would like to understand why we're talking about putting this on such a small piece of property when we have the ability to do better.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ron Rossi. I live on Palin Road and 82, right on the corner. So I just want to address some of the things you had said. The 500 cars aren't coming from this project. They're coming from the 220-plus units across the street Toll Brothers is building.
Well,
Plus 100 from here.
So
okay,
far, but
so that's part of the problem. Also, the loop system. I've worked with them in the past. They're impossible. We actually asked them to run a bus, an additional bus to the Gap for the last shift. They had a full bus going back of people who would pay a premium to come back, and they said, oh, no, we can't do that. Also, in case you didn't know, they don't run on Sundays at all, anywhere in Dutchess County.
Sir, you address the board, not...
Yeah, well,
I know you're trying to explain to her. Address the board, if you would.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said they don't run on Sunday at all, and they don't intend to. So if you have a job then you need to get to on Sunday, or you need to just go shopping, you know, or go visit someone, or you need to go to a health facility and you need a bus, you'll have to wait till Monday. Or you're going to have to walk for food into the A&P from that section. I didn't realize this property was available. This makes so much more sense, and I hope that's the property that you do choose. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Board member, Supervisor Hickman, I appreciate your comments about our organization and you're welcoming people with disabilities into this community.
Excuse me, Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Fox, sometime, I know you sent me a letter recently.
Yes.
I'd much rather if you would stop by and we could chat about things that we I think, things that we hold dear to us both, if you would. I'd
Okay.
appreciate that.
Sure, no problem. I'll keep my comments really, really brief. One thing I'll say is that we have 25% of an interest in this project, and the other 75% are going to be people that are not getting our services. And it seems to me from a lot of the comments that I hear from people that there are not concerns about our folks, but there are lots of concerns about the other folks that would be living here. And one of the things I just want everybody to understand is that we are very good at what we do, and what we do is improve the lives of people with disabilities. And part of that is facilitating relationships with other people, right? If we were going to enter into a partnership with the Kearney Development Group and place people with disabilities in a living community next to people who are engaged in crime behavior, we would be working against our mission. So I can assure you that's not what we're going to do. And if there's going to be a workforce development, I don't know if anybody realizes how good this relationship actually is. We have an army of psychologists and social workers that are going to be partnering on this project. So that's one thing I really hope everybody understands. Another thing I want to say is that in terms of transportation, we do have a bus that was granted to us by the Department of Transportation. So even though public transportation might not be available all the time, we'll have one that's 16-passenger, can accommodate 3 wheelchairs. And that'll be available on Sundays as well, 7 days a week. And then the last thing I'll just close with is a question that I'm trying to figure out in my mind, is that if what we're really worried about is unruly behavior and crime behavior and things like that, why that would be okay on Joe's Mother's Road but not, it wouldn't be okay there, but it would be okay here across the street. I'm not sure about that, so I don't know.
My name's George Morton, and I wasn't going to say anything, but with the last remark, I think I have to answer that. No one was implying that violence would be less or more at either location, and if anybody was worried about violence being a little bit closer to the police station, would be a good thing. As I was a little bit surprised by I know Bill, and I was a little bit surprised at the idea that they can't get anywhere. And I think that if any real unusual fruit comes out of this, there's a lot of people here, something could be done to improve the bus situation. Something could be done. I want it across the street. I want that across the street. They have more space. You won't have the traffic problem. And I don't think a single person in this room, I certainly hope not, is against people with problems. Because there isn't a person alive who's not going to have a problem. They're going to die someday. So these people are our friends. They're our neighbors. They could be the person in the room next to us getting Obamacare.
My name is Amar Longobardo. I live off Palin Road. And also, it seems like we're becoming abilities first versus concerned citizens of East Fishkill. Okay? And the problem is not with that. The problem is it's 25% of this project. Mm-hmm. The other 75% is this so-called workforce housing. Questionable. And first of all, we can't even get, just so people who aren't aware, there is no guarantee that one Hopewell resident will get one of those apartments. Okay, so, we pay our taxes, so we're not against abilities first, okay, but it's the wrong spot. This thing wouldn't even go if it wasn't for having abilities first with this building. because the people don't want it. And I'm sorry that it's turning out like this, but this is all planned. That's all I have to say.
All right, a few more people would like to speak, then we'll be wrapping up the public hearing for tonight.
Good evening, Board. My name is Ed Sloshow. I've been a resident for about 11 years in the town of East Fishkill, and I do not live anywhere near this particular project. Just want to make a comment. Somebody walked off with the signature pad earlier by mistake.
That happens. That
by
happens.
mistake, if they needed
That's okay.
signatures. One thing that I brought up at
It's
3 or
probably
4
one
of
of the kids that needed it for school, I hate to say.
Right.
You know, it's school, and they have to bring everything. It was
cars. It was a cop. It was a cop.
Sorry to the kids that just left.
At the prior board meeting and at the planning board meetings, I brought up the issue of traffic impact due to the Wappinger School District bringing back their bus depot to Fishkill Plains and the overflow to Van Wyck. We haven't addressed, and I don't believe that the applicant has spoken with the district again, because another of the issues besides the increased traffic impact because of the 150 to 200 buses that will be using 82, Palin, 52, and the roads that are near the project on a daily basis from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., there is no pickup for students at this site. We had this discussion at the prior planning board meeting. The applicant from a year ago was denied from the school district access, was not given permission for a bus to come onto the property to pick up the kids. I brought up the concern, where are the kids going to be picked up? Now, we had numbers of 30 kids, 40 kids, 15 kids, whatever the case might be. My big concern last time, where are the kids being picked up? Having them stand on 82, whether there is a sidewalk or not a sidewalk. Again, this gentleman brought up some facts about accidents occurring on 82, which I wasn't even aware of at the last meeting. So now I'm even more concerned than I was hearing the statistics of the accidents that occur on 82. Where are the kids going to stand to be picked up? That hasn't even been discussed and been addressed. Okay? And I mentioned snowplow on 82. If it's a county road and the snowplows are coming, who's removing the snow from the sidewalks? Where are the kids going to stay for the bus? Where are the parents going to stay? There's been no discussion about that with regards to school district and the kids being picked up. We've had no discussion on that. There hasn't even been any additional information. He had a conversation with DOT about bringing a bus. That's great. No conversations with the school district. Now, this is an impact. Now, if we also have more families moving into the Toll Brothers complex, that's more kids, more bus, more pickup, more traffic. We really need to look at this in a lot more detail. I think we're missing a lot of things. I believe everybody in this room, and I appreciate comments on both sides. It's not easy to get up here and talk. It's a lot of emotion and a lot of, I just think a lot of confusion. And I've said before, Abilities First is a great organization. I've had involvement with them through my relationship with the Chamber. I think this is a great project. I've mentioned that before. But I've been to 4 or 5 meetings already, and 99% of what I'm hearing, this is not the right location. I've brought this up. I don't think anybody has anything against Abilities First. I don't think anybody has anything against Mr. Kearney and his family and the development. It's the location. I mean, I'm not sure what the owner of this property was thinking when he purchased the property, what he wanted to do with it. Sell it, make a profit. I mean, he has every right to do that. But to sell this property for a development for this type of project does not make sense. Let's turn that, somebody mentioned before, let's turn that into, it's a historical building there. Let's turn that into an after-school educational center for our kids in the community. Let's rally, right? Let's work. Let's see if we can make a nonprofit organization for the owner. If he's concerned, what do I do with this property? I mean, look what this community's done with Julie's Jungle. I mean, we rally again, and we come together and rally together with great ideas and great projects for our community. I mean, this would be great. We have this project across the street. We have Julie's Jungle. East Fishkill would be a model for other towns. This would be a model for Mr. Kearney and his organization to go into other communities and say, look what I did in the town of East Fishkill by working together in a collaborative effort. I don't think anybody here has any animosity against Mr. Kearney or any animosity against Abilities First. I mean, we want what's best for our community. You know, and again, I brought up the concern, it was brought up here again. This is my community, our community. If this is workforce development, this is for our people first, okay? You know, if that's, you know, his funding has requirements, and I mentioned at the last meeting, get your funding someplace else for this project. TEG, Riverside, numerous banks and lenders that have lent in this community before on developments, I'm sure would be more than happy to sit down with Mr. Kearney. And I probably don't have to tell him which lenders to go to.
Exactly, and we're not really into discussing that.
And I appreciate that. I'm just trying to give a broad perspective because I've been to 4 or 5 of these meetings. There's a lot of new faces here tonight speaking and some of the old faces, and we seem to be saying the same thing. Let's work together in a collaborative effort here, okay? Let's make this a project that is a superior project that identifies the needs of this town. Workforce, if we need senior citizens, the whole idea, John, and you've been talking about finding a developer that we could sell some of this acreage to across the street. We don't have any senior housing here. Maybe this could be a 2-phase project Mr. Kearney might be interested in doing, with Abilities First on one part and bringing in some senior housing if we have enough acreage over there. It's a great project. It's not the right spot. That's what everybody is saying. I don't see anybody here saying, this is garbage, it's terrible, I don't want Abilities First here, I don't want Mr. Kearney's business here. I don't think anybody is saying that. I think what we're saying is, let's do this right. Let's find the right spot, if it's across the street or someplace else, where it benefits the community, it benefits the people, the residents, the merchants, and everybody else, taxpayers. We have money coming in on the books for tax revenue. We're trying to put 2 pounds of bologna in a 1-pound bag here, gentlemen. This does not make sense. I drove out to this property again and drove up Mother's Road. This is the second time, just to, again, visualize what this is all about. I don't see it here. I think we're trying to force the issue here. There's safety, the kids, the people across the street. I mean, look, listen, the concerns of the community is the same at every meeting. It may be being spoken in different words, but the idea is the same. There's a huge safety issue, whether it's traffic for the residents and the people that live in there. We're talking about cars and cars. There's 100 parking spots in this spot. People are going to live there and park. People are going to come to visit and visit their relatives and their friends. It's a community. There's going to be increased traffic. Why are we going to cause that much more of a headache on 82? I don't understand that. What is the point of that? Let's do this project the right way. If Mr. Kearney wants to build, okay, excuse me, Carney, I apologize, wants to build in our community, let's welcome him. Okay, if he has a track record, gentlemen have gone out, you've seen what he can do. I haven't read anything bad about him or his organization. Let's bring him in some type of partnership. Let's do this the right way from day one. Let's solve all of our problems with senior citizens, with workforce housing. Okay? Let's not worry about lawsuits. We're going to be sued. Okay? The gentleman mentioned before, every day people says, I'm going to sue you for this or this or that. I don't know. Let's try to figure something else out for this property with the owner. As I said, let's make it an educational center. Let's do something for our kids. Let them learn about the history of this community. Let them learn about the history of Dutchess. Let's make it an educational. Let's make it an interactive place, something for the kids, for the community, for the seniors. Let's bring the Abilities residents. Let's do something over there for them too. Let's make that a center for them, a place to go to interact. So it's a community center. Let's add additional senior citizens community activities there. There's a million things that we can do, that we could work with the current owner for that particular property. But more importantly, let's focus on the reality here. This does not make sense. Okay, and I can appreciate the comments on both sides. There's a lot of passion behind this. But let's look at this from a practical standpoint. It doesn't make sense to jam all of this into 6.5, 7 buildable acres. Why? Because the current owner doesn't know what to do with this property, so he's throwing it out there to different developers. Hey, come in, let's do something with this. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about the current owner. He's trying to do, and he has every right to do what he wants to do with his property.
You could just stick with your issues. So
Okay.
I don't want to go around.
I apologize. And just to make it I'll wrap it up real quick. And I've said this before. It's not an ideal location. Let's move it across the street. Let's look someplace else. Let's sit down with all parties involved. Okay? We have a great engineer in this town. We have a great planner. We have great board members. Okay? We have a lot of talented people in this community. Let's get everybody together. Let's do this the right way. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
It's unfortunate they don't mention a great attorney, but I'm sorry about that one. Got all the other professionals.
Or the comptroller.
I want to
So is the control.
answer the man's thing. When we have snow in this area, we don't have school. And don't feel bad about texting. I don't text either. I use a telephone, John, just like most of the people do.
Yep.
I had a person texting and almost ran into me.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have more accidents with people texting than anything else. So maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I got a lot of brains, a lot of sense, common sense.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Marty.
John.
Hey, Marty.
Always.
And the guy Tex was walking when he hit him.
Good evening, board members, fellow people of the town. My name is Daniel Domagnani. I live across the street from the proposed property, and there's a couple issues that I want to just make the town aware of. I'm not sure if you guys are. Recently, there was, I don't know what the right term is, but I call them rumble strips that was installed in the road. What's it? Rumble strips, is that what they call it? It was installed in the median, in between the lanes of where the said property actually is. If you guys aren't familiar with this road, there's a lot of curves. There's a lot of limited sight distance. And as a resident, I'm on this road every day. I can tell you that there isn't enough police activity on this road. People are speeding, okay? They're speeding, they're swerving, they're going in and out of curves. Maybe this is why we put the rumble strips there in the first place. I don't know what department took the initiative to make sure that those got put in there so people wake up when they realize they're crossing over into the other lane. In any event, the Country Gardens Plaza, Oasis Beverage Distributor Plaza, Royal Auto Parts, these are one of the, three of the main businesses on the opposite side of that road. Now, when you have to make a left turn or a right turn coming out of any of these properties, if you guys are awake, if you come out of your houses once in a while and you drive around town, you'll find that you're waiting 2, 3, 4, 7 minutes sometimes. I've clocked it. When the school buses are out, you're sitting there. And to what I do, I usually bring my coffee in my car and I just sit and wait. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on the time of day, okay? So, you know, it's already very congested in this area. I live there. I'm in there. I know what it is. Also, if you guys are around and you do go try to make a left turn on 82 into one of these properties, what you're going to find is that you're also waiting because it's already congested. So now you're backing up traffic to where Stewart's is. On the other end, you're backing up traffic to Palin Road. And more often than not, okay, I've been passed illegally on the right. People just go right around you. They go right over the nice white line, right onto the curb. There's dirt there. It's not paved or anything. It's not a sidewalk yet, maybe. But if a sidewalk is going to be put there and you're going to have pedestrians there, okay, you're putting pedestrians at danger right there because someone can just easily go right around, miss the curb, jump the curb, hit somebody. I'm not, God forbid, I'm not saying that.
You understand it's a New York State road, so if anybody puts in sidewalks, New York State will be out there to do it.
And they'll be
do the
responsible. I get that.
analysis, sure.
You know, I get that. But what I want to address is that there's not enough police activity on that road.
Okay.
And I'd like to see that change. Again, I think this is a good property. It's not the right location, unfortunately. And I'd also like to know, you know, the last gentleman spoke a little bit in regards to the impact with the school district and everything like that. But, you know, with these units, we haven't really had much of a study on how many projected, school kids are now going to be put into our school system? What kind of a burden is that going to affect on the taxpayer? Okay, do we need more buses now? Do we need more bus drivers? Do we need more dispatchers? Do we need more teachers? Gay Hill Elementary, all these different schools. None of that's been spoken about. So I would just
Basically,
like
the
to-
schools and traffic is a big problem.
It is a big problem, yeah.
All right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Hickman and town board members. I live fairly close to the site, and just saying, originally I came to this meeting because I needed to graduate high school, and I needed a signature of one of the town councilmen. But I do feel very strongly about this. Making a left turn out of Fishkill Road across from the site is, as the man said before me, just to reiterate him, is extremely difficult. I sit there and I wait to get to school, to get to work for minutes on end.
Yeah.
My grandma actually got into an accident years ago, totaled her car, just trying to make a left turn out of there. And I feel like whether the people of this new development drive or not, visitors, family, whatever it is, that's going to create more traffic inevitably. I'm also a volunteer firefighter in Wickby, and I know how much it takes to get to an accident with traffic, time of day, and the 4 lanes, including the turning lane on 82 in that area, are very intense to get to, whether you have lights on or not. And
Wow.
I just
appreciate that.
Thank
We need to know that kind of detail.
yeah, and it's tough. And believe it or not, some people don't obey lights,
The
whether
blue
you're in a
lights.
fire truck or if I have my
Yeah.
blue lights on in my car.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah. And I just feel like this other site here would be such a great place to put this. I'm not against this at all. I'm just against the site and the location. I feel like the safety of our citizens is almost in danger with the traffic. And, yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, yeah, sure. We're going to be wrapping up in a couple minutes. But thank you for citing. We've been remiss in having, well, somebody took the pad before, and that was the end of that for a while.
Mr. Hickman and board members, I'll be very brief. My name is Brian Murphy. I'm a resident of East Fishkill. I live across the street from the property. And rather than reiterate everything that's already been said, I'm sure you can understand my concerns. There seems to be a very emotional issue about whether we're against or for people living there or whatever. I'm against this project for the many reasons that have already been stated. But a bigger concern that I don't think people are aware of is that this is based on a lottery system. So you can have people coming from Long Island or Connecticut or whoever puts in an application to be living there. So to have any,
Relevance to the town, possibly.
relevance to
Yeah.
the town and also any emotional attachment, it's kind of the dog wagging the tail with, people with disabilities, is a grave concern of mine because that's not the issue at all. It's not the issue at all.
Okay.
The issue is the site. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello all. I just want to get up. We're creatures of habit. We're not good with change and we don't like change. And this is a huge change. Wherever we go, wherever we put this housing development, there's going to be an added amount of traffic, whether it be 376 or 82 and Palin Road. It is what it is, but we need to do this to grow, and we need to welcome this project in its current location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ed Haid. I'm a board member of Abilities First, also the parent of a child with autism. And for selfish reasons, I hope that you will be able to provide the necessary permits to move this project forward. They do good work here. You know, there's challenges with everything. You know, like she said, change presents challenges. There's people that live with significant challenges every single day. So growing and independence is all part of that, and we're hoping to see that for the developmentally disabled people that we try to help every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Sure.
All right, we're going to take a couple more people who'd like to speak and wrap up. I see, yep, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hickman. John Morgan, thank you for the opportunity to address you. I've lived in town for 19 years. I hope that's long enough. I wasn't actually born here. I came from someplace else, but have been here for 19 years, all approximately one mile from the proposed Muse project. And during that time, I've also had the opportunity to be a volunteer as a member of the board of directors at Abilities First and served as a past president of the organization. So I'm proud to share the following with you this evening. During my time on the board, Abilities First purchased and renovated multiple single-family homes to provide opportunities for people with disabilities to be more productive members of the local community. In addition to providing increasingly dignified living arrangements, Abilities First also provides services to people with disabilities in a very efficient and cost-effective manner. The cost per resident of former state-run and taxpayer-funded institutional settings have been well documented over the past half dozen or so years. Abilities First can and does provide appropriate services in community settings for a fraction of that cost. And as New York State taxpayers, we can all appreciate efficiency with our money. You know, 30, 40 years ago, people that could be potential residents here would have been wards of the state or institutionalized. Abilities First provides job coaching so that people that were once wards of the state actually pay New York State income taxes. Abilities First is a first-class neighbor. Many times during my 6 years on the board, people that initially voiced concerns about having a residence of adults with disabilities in their neighborhood recognized the professional level of care and diligence with which the organization cared for and maintained their properties. So having had the opportunity to meet so many people with disabilities through my service as a volunteer, I want to commend the town for its support of a project that will so richly enhance the lives of people that have not always been blessed by government and society. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. All right, I'd like to get wrapping up.
I forgot to write my name.
Oh,
I just
okay.
want to write my name,
All right, if you
and I
would jot
also
it
want to
down
make
so we'll
one
know.
last comment.
Yep.
Let me write this
Okay,
here.
then you have to write your name down.
Yeah, no problem.
Otherwise, you couldn't make any more comments. There we go.
Okay. Sorry. Now, with the property, okay, that we're talking about, I believe I overheard 25%. Was it 25 units or 25% for, in regards to the special?
I believe the breakdown was...
The breakdown?
25%, 17 units.
17 units? Okay, so of the entire property and everything, 17 was the best number we can come up with. Again, you know, I'm not against this, but I think that, you know, if we really want to push, you know, the agenda here for people with disabilities, we need a bigger number. I also want to address that, you know, when we talk about in relation to people walking with the other residents, okay, there is another property not too far from here. It's outside of East Fishkill, but it's on my Old Hopewell Road, okay, towards the end. There's a big development right there, okay, and if any of you residents have been out during the day, in the evening, there are no sidewalks from that property to Route 9 where the buses are. So there are consistently people walking down 28, County Route 28, okay, to get to 7-Eleven, to get to access to their buses, okay, and, you know, over the years, I have consistently seen different types of ambulances, accidents, okay? Because of the fact that that was planned wrong. It was not put in the right spot, and this is exactly the same scenario for this project.
Thank you. All right, yes, sir.
Jeff Gartner. I live off of Palin Road, Palin Woods. I actually oppose any project that's going to add additional vehicles onto Palin Road, 82, whatever, until that intersection with Palin, 82, Fishkill Road gets fixed.
Okay.
I don't care if it's 5 cars. I don't care if it's the 500 cars. I oppose any expansion to that development on Fishkill Road at all. To the gentleman before me who talked to his point, 25% to get this this project through. I think the abilities first aspect of this project is the bonus here. I mean, I would love to see that at 100%. I just don't want to see it in that location. I think while that is the upside of the project, the downside of the project is the low-income housing, and I think that gentleman's numbers probably are fairly in line with what we should be expecting if that comes in, regardless of the location. But I think at this point, looking for an alternative location or possibly for a development that is majority abilities first, I'd like to see. Now, I also want to mention that as of about noon today, there was an online petition going around, and so I'm sort of representing about 178 people that have signed it in the last few hours. So in addition to the...
Where do they sign these online petitions? Are they East Fishkill residents who sign these online petitions?
Yeah, in fact, part of it is, they enter their address as well, their names and address. So,
how many signed?
The last I saw was 178 when I was pulling into the parking lot. Somebody, the person that started it, texted me.
Can you provide us with a copy?
I would be more than happy. I can send you an email if you like.
Send it to my secretary.
I'll text it to you.
Send it to my secretary.
I will make sure that you receive it. Fax it to you. Do you have fax?
We got fax.
All right.
Good evening, Supervisor, Board. My name is Ryan Dutcher. Just to touch off of what he said before, Toll Brothers unit, Fishkill Road, volunteer firefighters live on that, can't get out, so on and so forth. It is a state road. Do you guys know the plan of action that they are going to do to change that?
DOT's been looking at that project. They've moved it up from simple realignment of Fishkill Road to Palin Road because of the railroad tracks. They've actually moved it up into the hamlet to make some changes into the hamlet, hoping to cul-de-sac Fishkill Road at some time. But as we all know, the federal government, who supports the DOT through funding, has no money, so DOT's funding is slowly getting less and less and less. So it's on the, it's in their concept stage. As you see, they just did roundabouts in LaGrange. I was surprised they had the money for that, but I suspect it's a couple years down the road.
So we want to expand our town without knowing the effects of that. That could change everything. That could make it 300 times worse.
I didn't say we want to change town. I said that this is where...
I know, I'm just saying. We don't know what the traffic pattern is yet. They have a plan or are trying to create a plan. So no traffic study that's done will ever be able to say that that's going to be that. He brought it up that Palin Road, Fishkill Road, that's a big concern. All right? So if they put roundabouts in the hamlet, that's going to obstruct business. You're not going to want to go to one side to the other to turn around, all that good stuff. So that's going to create a lot more traffic or congestion. Maybe not, maybe it will, but I think it's something that you guys need to consider in the overall picture. All right? The other thing is we're going to expand on something else, and we're going to worry about all these things. I think we have a lot of internal problems that we need to worry about more. Our police force is incredibly understaffed for our town. It's a known thing. It's a fact. They deserve more guys on the road. They have way too much to cover. If this is a great place to live, let's start there and move from that. worry about traffic of the future of 82 with the DOT, then increase the population.
All right, do we have any other comments tonight? I'd like to wrap up the public hearing. I think that everybody's expressed a few things over and over, but I think we've heard a lot of different varied opinions tonight. We had still, from the last public hearing, we had received a lot of letters, a lot of documentation between the two meetings, and we've actually gotten more tonight. So if the board is okay, if nobody else would like to speak, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing tonight.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The public hearing on the Muse special permit application is now closed. I would just have to say a couple things here. We've received a lot of information. Actually, we've received a lot more information tonight than I really would have thought we would have gotten. And again, as I said, when we open the meeting, we work for you. We have to take all, we do take all of your concerns into our decision making. And we've gotten a lot of information tonight. So what I would propose to the board, because we have so much more stuff to take a look at, more information to take a look at, I close the public hearing, and I'd like to propose, if the board is okay, we could review everything. I'd like to see the, I know we had the petitions out. I'd like to see the petitions. We have this document given to us before by several members of the audience. And if we take, if the board is okay, if we took a week to take a look, would be okay to meet back next week, maybe next Thursday, to vote on a decision on the special permit application? Do you think a week would give us time to review everything?
John, I need to make a disclaimer announcement before we actually...
certainly.
So that I could respond to some of your questions. I have to disclose to the East Fishkill community, under the advice of our town lawyer, Mr. Tom Wood, that in regard to this project, the Muse at the Hopewell for workforce housing, that I personally have no financial affiliation with Eteltre LLC, a company that owns property across from the previous mentioned project. Nor do I have any vested interest toward the outcome of this board decision in regard to the same. My interest and obligation rest with the citizens of East Fishkill. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. All right, with that, would everybody be okay? A week to sit down, a couple weeks? I'd like to wrap it up.
John, I have, we said previously that there's going to be a discussion regarding some of the issues that the community has brought up. There was the last meeting that we had. There has been no discussion as far as the board is concerned. So I don't know what the time is going to do if we're, I mean, we heard the comments tonight. We heard them before. Sooner or later, the board has to make a decision. I could testify that we didn't discuss any of the previous comments, nor address the notes that you took. So the time that you require, I was wondering what's going to change the outcome.
Okay. I know that a lot of the board members have been in to speak with our engineer and with our planning people, and of the issues that I'd written down from the last town board meeting, and when I sent everybody an email, out of my notes, these were the issues that were brought up. I know a lot of the board members have already met with our professionals. You're more than welcome to meet with the professionals. I would like to take a week to take a look at the new documents that were just dropped off. A gentleman, an attorney, dropped off some information that I think is very important to take a look at before I make a decision tonight. I'm only asking for a week. I don't think that that's too much. I want to make sure that the board will be comfortable, because I think, you know, we need to take everything into account what we've heard tonight, and we need to make the best decision we can.
If I could make a motion, John, to that, in that respect, I would like to see the whole board sit down and review these comments altogether. We cannot go and discuss, we already know all the issues, I mean, discussing, sitting with the attorney or everybody else.
Well, you could do that, sure.
If a discussion has to be.
So then the next meeting, we'll set up a special workshop meeting with a voting meeting, something like that. We'll have to advertise for next week. I would like to wrap it up rather soon. next Thursday, I would propose a workshop and a special voting meeting so we can discuss it, if that will be enough time for you.
Right. I would
So
like
a
to
lot
see,
of-
as I said, to satisfy the concerns of these citizens, that we sit down as a board and discuss whatever the issues are and come to a conclusion.
Oh, absolutely.
So that,
But we made this quite open for everybody who's been in to already speak with the professionals and discuss possibly among themselves, because as you know, we can only meet in a workshop. So we'll set a workshop for next week, a special voting meeting. We'll discuss it. I would like to make a decision on this, and I'd like to make an educated decision. I'd like to take a look at the documents we received tonight. So if the board's okay with that? Workshop next week, special voting meeting? Everybody available next Thursday? Be here? All right. So I make a motion to, we close the public hearing. I make a motion to hold a special workshop meeting for discussion of town matters regarding the Muse next Thursday, which is, I believe, 30th?
7:30?
7:30, and then for the special voting meeting thereafter. Okay? Do I have a motion?
Almost.
Do I have a second?
Question?
All those,
Is this
Excuse me?
workshop meeting- Is the workshop meeting open to the public?
yes, it's just like this, except we sit down there. I thought I had a second over there, but I said I don't recognize that voice. Second. Second, thank you
So-
very much.
He's the line vote.
All
John, 1 second, so let's understand, the public will have some kind of interaction, or is just
Well, the
discussion
workshop
among
is
us?
us discussion. We've had the interaction with the public, we closed the
Okay.
public hearing, but I think we have a lot of information they've supplied, so we will sit down at the workshop and discuss it. All right?
These teachers get.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Any kids that got to get their papers signed for?